Ah. Da 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 da. Hey, Aramis, how you doing? How you doing, bud? Oh, you know what? You want to know how much I love you sick fucks? I got this done in 4 hours. Um, this is also a test bed for something that I want to do. This is a test bed for something that I want to do. And hopefully, you guys like it. It's a new way for me to talk about the lore and fluff of Warhammer. And I'm very, very excited to try this out. Uh, the format is a bit weird. And like I said, this is experimental. But hopefully, shit goes good. Hopefully. I should also scream at people to get in here. Not everyone. Stream is live. Get your butts in here. I even started early. I was so on point and so good that I started early. And I gave you fuckers bonus content this week. I still had someone be mad at me in my fucking comments when I said I'm not defending it being lazy or saying that GW is being super fucking smart. And they still find a way to basically say, like, you like pancakes, so you must hate waffles. That's basically it. Holy shit. But yeah, I did not have access to PowerPoint. But I did have access to Google Slideshow. That wasn't torture at all. It's like pulling teeth with it. I'm not mentally damaged, you are. But yeah, we're just going to wait a tiny bit. Wait for more people to show up. and then we will get started on the War of Badab. What the hell is that? It's very interesting. It's one of my favorite little small events that happened within the Warhammer universe. The Badab War. Oh boy. Oh boy. The entire story of how can the Imperium fuck up so badly. And the answer was, oh, it could get worse. Oh, the Imperium could fuck it up even worse. Which just makes it even funnier. All so we can have logical, canonical reasons why Marines would be fighting Marines. Outside of, how dare you worship this totem instead of a statue of the Emperor? As the other chapter goes, how about you mind your own fucking business? And they proceed to whack chainswords at each other for several hours. You know, 13 of you fuckers vote for this thing, and blurg. Okay. Yeah, it is a 27 slide PowerPoint. Holy shit. But how are you? How are you all doing today? How is chat? How is everybody doing? Hey, how's it going? How it be? How it do? How it go? What is the up with the down? With the go around? Ugh. No, we don't have music for this. We don't add music. We don't risk the YouTube copyright system. We don't risk that shit for the disco stick. That is a bad idea. Very bad idea. Sorry if also my voice is a bit deeper. You guys, you got a lot out of me yesterday, so... Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah. Before we also begin, I want to make a very clear statement. So it's on the record. The video I made today. Uh, the video I made today with the retcons in 40K. That was taking the piss out of a lot of shit. And just going to show that 40K retcons itself. It's never been a concrete universe, and if you believe that, um, I'm sorry, there's no helping you. The universe is as fluid as water. Anything can be added to it. Anything will be added to it. Doesn't mean it's smart. Doesn't mean it's doesn't mean it's the greatest thing ever. It is somewhat lazy to just kind of just put it in there. It is sort of lazy to do that. But then again, properties have been doing it since properties existed. Greetings. Hello. Hello there. But yeah, like, I got people basically going into my comments saying, oh, you defend, like, fucking Palpatine returns somehow shit. No, I'm fucking not. No, I'm fucking not. There is such thing as bad writing. And never have I said that 40K has never had bad writing. Holy fuck. Like, none of y'all read the Draco trilogy, and it shows. Who knows, Ian? Maybe it'll be my next movie. Ian Watson, you hack. Alright, I think we've dilly-dallied enough. So how about we get into the meat of why we are here in this new experimental idea that I've had cooking up in here because I'm a fucking insane person. So I would look like a hypocrite if I hated on it. You wouldn't look like a hypocrite. Like, I don't think a lot of people like the Palpatine returning saga and Legends. I remember a lot of people not being fans of it. But hey, like, I don't talk to everyone. I can't know everyone's opinion. So, like, let's get into the Badab War. An example of the Imperium being shit. Again, I had no time to go over spelling mistakes or anything. I have literally cooked this up, like, at 2 p.m. my time. Oh boy. Uh, Boss, if you're insane, does that make you irresistible, like trying yet again to make a bad idea work? Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, this is the Badab War. So, first off, what is the Badab War? Holy shit, I need to move my camera. Hold on, I need to find a good spot to put me. Alright. What is the Badab War? The Badab War was a successful attempt to explain and expand upon the Imperium's history and why some factions within the Imperium would fight each other. This was basically GW's way of not only introducing more models to the game, it would also give people plenty of new chapters to, you know, create their own off of, or paint their own versions of these chapters. It also allowed the writers of GW to expand on the universe and explore places that 40K had dabbled in, but never really sank its teeth into. The reason being is because 40K tend to usually focus on uh, exterior threats more often than not. Like orcs, Eldar. By this point, the Tyranids were a thing. Uh, so on and so forth. But a lot of people would ask the question like, wait, but those Space Marines are on the same team. Why are they shooting at each other? And the Badab War is a very good example as to a reason why. So, let's get into it. Setting it up. Oh my fucking god, I am terrible at laying out shit. Alright, sometime in M41, the High Lords of Terra created the Maelstrom Warders, a strike force of Space Marine chapters meant to police the Maelstrom area, the literal center of the galaxy. They would assign the Astral Claws, Charnel Guard, Lamenters, and Mantis Warriors to police it and get it in line. So, yeah, essentially, these 4 chapters, made up of varying amounts of Marines. By this time, I believe that the Astral Claws were the only ones at full chapter strength. The Lamenters were still recovering from one of the Black Crusades that they barely survived. The Charnel Guard were also in the same boat. They were recuperating losses, but they were around like half strength. And the Mantis Warriors, they were more out there as a chapter. So like they were like the White Scar. They're a White Scar successor chapter. So they would like divide up their companies and just send them out. And then when they got the orders to, you know, police this, they all came back together. I think this was after the 8th or 9th Black Crusade, I believe. It probably was one of those. So this is a disaster waiting to happen, because, like, give it, like, being fair and credible here, having around a fluctuating number of at max 4,000 Marines or lower to police this, yeah, no, someone gonna fuck up somewhere down the line. The Warders, in total, had about only 4,000 Marines to police, you know, the center of the galaxy, which a Space Marine, pretty good at killing things, but still a lot of ground to cover. The Warders would find themselves constantly pressed on all sides, constantly on the back foot, and constantly dealing with distress signals. It was nothing but fire after fire that needed to be put out. Like, they would stop a orc invasion over here, only to have a pirate raid on a shipping yard 3 galaxies, like 3 fucking sectors away, and they were expected to go deal with it. And this spread all of them pretty thinly. So much so that the Astral Claws lost their chapter master, leading to the rise of Luft Huron, the youngest chapter master to be elected to the position. Luft Huron is essentially the main character or main antagonist of this event, depending on which side you took. Who is this Luft Huron? Who is this handsome lad, this spectacular gentleman with a nice claw for grabbing ass, you could say? Hey, who roasts heretics alive with this really cool heavy flamer? Huron was a popular officer within the chapter, smart, well-spoken, a great tactician, and with time could have been an extremely capable and strong leader the Imperium needed. However, he was the right man at the wrong time. At no point throughout these 2 books does it say that Huron is a bad man. He does have his arrogance, to him, but that is attributed to him being young for the role. If he had more time to cook in the oven of battle and be tempered, it is probably without question that he would have been on equal standing with like Marnius Calgar and Logan Grimnar. It is fairly well understood if he was given time to cook. That would be what would happen. And no, this is not me going to be sucking Huron's dick. Even though, hot damn, this is a handsome man. Alright, the fuck-ups begin. Since the Maelstrom Zone was considered contained enough, the Charnel Guard were forcefully reassigned to another war zone that needed them. However, this left the Astroclaws, Lamenters, and Mantis Warriors with a massive hole in their defensive line and agreements. So, after you manage to get shit relatively figured out, and that after you've just had your own command structure rocked with the death of your chapter master, the next thing that you're told, yeah, so now you have to do it with about 75% of the manpower that you have. Figure it out, kiddo. That does not leave a good impression. That would actually piss off a lot of people. Like, we can even see it in our modern day. Lots of different military groups that are told you have to defend this position with very little supplies and manpower. It does not go well, and a lot of people will feel slighted at this, and will start being resentful over the power structure that is controlling all these different things. Now, a lot of people will point out, well, the Imperium is so massive that it can't just keep itself hunkered down to one war zone. But here's the thing. You wanted this place secured, and now you're sabotaging the efforts to do it before it is secure. Oh no. This hole would be exploited by pirates, Chaos Raiders, and other forces, took advantage of this and proceeded to fuck up the area. Huron would send out calls for aid and reinforcement, and though had the backup of the Black Templars Crusader fleets for a bit, it wasn't enough, and the problems only kept getting worse. Essentially, the Black Templars would pop in for like a tiny bit, and they're just like, hey, let's go kill some orcs. And Huron and a lot of the other Maelstrom Warriors are just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's secure the zone. And then the got fucked over again because those Black Templars were recalled. It's like how the Siege of Rax, the Imperium began to divert resources from it because it went on so long, causing it to last even longer. Yeah, like, the Imperium gave these guys an impossible job, and then it's just like, okay, we're starting to get a handle on things. We finally found, although wobbly ground, we found ground, and then they just have the planet blown up from under them. It's not a good look. It doesn't feel good. It feels god-awful. And you're just expected to deal with it. Hi, Penny! Alright, Badab Primaris. Eventually, the Astroclaws would take over the world of Badab Primaris after its leadership revolted against the Imperium. Huron and the Astroclaws would put the rebellion down hard. Not only that, Huron wanted to establish a sector that could be a fortress, made Badab his new chapter homeworld, and made himself planetary governor, being dubbed the Tyrant of Badab. Now, Badab is a very unique planet. It was located in a strategically viable area between all the trade lanes that the Astroclaws were already assigned to defend. And so it was a perfectly strategical position to put themselves in to be a rapid response force that they needed to be and that they already were. And to a lot of people, this was an okay thing to do. The Imperium did not give a shit that he did this. Because, was this legal? Did Huron have the legality, the authority to do this? The Maelstrom Warders did have the ultimate authority to do what they needed to do to secure the defense of the Imperium. Plus, it was complicated. So long as Huron and the Warders kept doing their job, the High Lords were fine with it. And it's not without precedent. The Ultramarines, their planetary governor of Macragge, is the chapter master of their chapter, Marneus Calgar. They already had an example to go on. And there was no problem with the Astral Claws doing what they needed to do to keep the peace within the zone. I have two questions. When does the Imperium not put down rebellions hard? And does any rebellions in 40k ever succeed? A few do. A few do. That is loaded. It is very loaded. Because how do you define success? However, there was a wrinkle in this, because when you are trying to establish a fortress area, when you are trying to establish a zone of defense, what do you need? What do you need to add on to these defenses? What exactly do you need, chat? I'm going to be asking you guys. I know no one can see chat, but I can. I am the all-seeing eye. I am Zinch. Get fucked. What do you need to? What do you need to defend a place? What exactly do you need? Let's ask that question to chat. Chat, what do we got? You need resources. Ranger got it. A lot of them. Yes! Yes, you do. You need a lot of resources to fortify the position. So, what do? Well, there's lots of fucking trade lanes around. Let's just divert all those ships to here. Now, was there precedent for chapters doing that? It's iffy. Chapters have done it before. But this unique situation really hit the nearby system of Carthago. I think it's Carthago. They were not happy about this, since Huron was redirecting trade and supply vessels to Badab, which was robbing them of their needed supplies to pay for their tithes, leading to them launching political campaigns against Huron and the Warders. So, the one thing that I really like about the Badab War, and especially when reading it, Carthago, the Carthagins actually had a point. Were they fucking slime about it? Oh, they totally acted like it. But they also had a legitimate reason to be scared. When you don't pay your tithes on time, the Imperium does not give a flying fuck why you did not pay it on time. They give a shit that it has not been paid, and you will pay for it, whether it be in blood or a forced occupation. Carthago was at risk of this. So, of course, they're going to, make a stink about it. And Space Marines usually don't deal with politics. Huron was pushed into it. All he and the Warders were doing was the job they were given. Anyone getting in the way of that, whether they had good reason to or not, was seen as bitching at best, betrayal at worst. I.e., I don't give a shit about your politics, you fat fuck. I care about doing the job that I was given. I.e., my job is to protect the Imperium. Your job is to figure it out. It didn't help that the nobles of Carthago had some sway over the imperial courts, however, lobbying them to not only investigate the situation, but potentially rule in their favor no matter what the investigation found out. These claims do have some truth to them. So, again, Carthago, they're being fucked with, but... and they're going to do everything they can to get their lost resources back. So they're going to play dirty. They're going to play politics. They're going to go under and go over people to get what they want and get what they need, especially if it comes at the direct ire of a bunch of Space Marines. They don't give a shit. They are going to get what they want no matter what it takes. And, oh boy, this just led to more problems. This led to a measured response. Huron would not be chill when it came to these investigations, and when the Imperial courts ruled that Huron and the warders had been in the wrong and that they were to pay for the damages to Carthago, Huron would rebuke the courts and tell them, come get them at your own risk. The first group that did try was fully wiped out, along with the Astroclaws blockading Carthago shipping lanes, and just taking the supplies anyway. Carthago, in response, would call in the Firehawks chapter for support. You can see how this is getting out of control. You can see how this is getting out of control real fucking fast. I.e., the courts moved in favor of Carthago, with some Carthago lobbying being behind it. And the Space Marines go, we were just building a fortress here. You want the supplies? Come fucking get it. And that is not what you want to hear from a Space Marine chapter. If you've pissed them off and they say, come get it at your own risk, oh boy, you might wanna step off on that one. Hi, Black Rose. How you doing? But yeah, you might want to take a step back, take a breath, and really start seriously weighing your options here. But Carthago decided that calling in a really, really not chill chapter like the Firehawks, who were extremely Puritan by Space Marine standards. Yeah, no, this was the match that lit the fire. The Firehawks would stupidly engage the Astroclaws of the open, only to get smacked down and sent running with their tails between their legs. This loss, however, played to Carthago's politics, and they started yelling that the Astroclaws were traitors, with the Astroclaws yelling the same back at them. I.e., how fucking dare you? You miserable pile of shit. You openly screamed for the Firehawks to intervene on your behalf. They fired on us first, and now you have the audacity to bitch at me. Fuck you. That is essentially what happened here. And the Firehawks were really pissed because the Astroclaws took some of their men hostage. So not only did the situation get worse, now it's a hostage negotiation on top of a blockade negotiation on top of who has jurisdiction here. And this debate just gets worse. It can't get worse, right? It got worse. The Imperium was not doing too hot, and this whole situation was straining its resources. Not only that, but the Astroclaws would also destroy a Mechanicus fleet sent to go get their gene seed type to see if it was stable or corrupted. Huron would also create the Articles of Just Succession, basically saying that he and the warders were exercising their duty to defend the Imperium by any means necessary, as was their emperor-given right. Move myself up here. Hold on. The Imperium would send in the Red Scorpions, Salamanders, Fire Angels, and Raptors chapters to get their shit sorted, only for the Astral Claws to call in oaths from the Executioners chapter to help them. So, just saying here, chat, friends, the last thing you want in the Imperium is 8 Space Marine chapters staring each other down in deadlock. That will never end well. This is really bad, especially since, well, the Red Scorpions are not the most restrained when it comes on the best of days. If you're calling in the Salamanders, you're hoping that someone from there from the authority of one of the first legions, one of the founding legions of all these guys, to step in and go, okay, everyone calm down. And you're also calling in the Fire Angels and the Raptors. I don't know much about the Fire Angels lore, but I do know that the Raptors are the more level-headed Space Marine chapter. They're actually willing to, change their armor colors up and actually think out a plan before, doing the thing. But the problem comes down to, you just called in a hammer when what you need right now is a scalpel. What you need right now is someone from the higher ups, like a High Lord of Terra, to come down, slap everyone's shit, and tell them to knock it the fuck off. I.e., tell me what's going on and the High Lords will deal with it. But no, the response is hammer, nail. Now, to everyone's credit, no one was comfy with this. Is an understatement. The Warders and the other chapters drawn into this were loyal to the Imperium. By this time, the Warders were still seen as loyalists. They were still seen as loyal to the Imperium, loyal to the Emperor. They were just doing their job, but everybody was bitching at them about doing their damn job. And when everybody stopped listening to the Firehawks and the Carthagins, they all just sat down and went over the facts of what happened. I.e., okay, everyone's acting fucking stupid. Everyone's acting incredibly reckless, incredibly fucking stupid, and this situation is only going to get worse if we don't settle it now. So, the Red Scorpion chapter and the other chapters would call for a parlay. They would basically say, hey, we're not here to shoot. We're not here to fight. We get it. It's frustrating. Let's talk this out. Cousin to cousin, battle brother to battle brother. Let us sit down and have a discussion and talk this out and see if we can find some common ground to work with here. And to the Astral Claws and the Warders' credit, they actually did stand up and go to this meeting. Huron would attend this meeting in person. He would go there. He actually was wanting to resolve this. Huron was not malicious. He was not being a dickhead about it. He was just like, I'm being fucked over 6 ways to Sunday by a bureaucracy that could give less of a shit about what the hell I'm doing. So, like, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with them. And yeah, I did shoot down some ships. I am not going to hide that fact. But they violated my orders to pull back. Which, again, Space Marine Chapter Master, they have incredible authority and power over the sectors of space that they control. So, was Huron legally right in doing so? Yes and no. So, hopefully, maybe, cooler heads will prevail. This is Warhammer 40k. Do you really think this is going to end the way you think it is? No one had chill. Everybody was not chill. What happened next is really up to debate. What we know for certain is that ships of unknown loyalty came in, fired upon the meeting area, and ran away. The Red Scorpion's chapter master was killed in the ensuing raid, which did not help. The Loyalists blamed the Warders for luring them into a trap, while Huron, who survived the attack, blamed Imperial politicians for trying to assassinate him. Others with more level heads would blame pirates or Chaos Raiders for the attack, while some would suggest the Inquisition did it to push stuff along to a favorable outcome for them. Again, we don't really know who did it. It's never expanded upon. But the ships were of human design. We know that much. We also know that the Imperium does like to infight and does like to instigate more fucking problems if they can. What if it was a Custodes caused it? They, at this point, had never left the palace and had no reason to. So, like, they are far, far, far away from being suspects in this. Plus, it would make, like, I lean towards it was pirates. For one, pirates are very opportunistic little bastards in 40k. Especially, like, Chaos pirates, like Chaos Space Marine pirates and raiders. If you see a bunch of Space Marine ships all docked together defenseless, and you have the chance to take some out, yeah, I think the pirates are going to do it. Do I think the Inquisition had a hand to play in this? It's very hard to debate if that is the case. They didn't really have a reason to destabilize the region. It was already in a precarious position. And yeah, the Inquisition is fucking stupid. But they're not... I wouldn't go as far as to say they would light this bonfire more than it already was. They tend to only fuck with individual chapters, but when, like, groups of them are together and doing this, the last thing an Inquisitor wants is to be caught red-handed. And trust me, this is not a situation you want to be guilty of starting. It could have been Alpha Legion. Like I said, I like to lean more towards Chaos Pirates that did this, because it was an opportune moment to strike a vulnerable target. Especially since, like, yeah, no, what do you expect to happen? They're trying to defend a zone, and the pirates keep slipping through. So, yeah, it's gonna happen. I really narrow it down to it's the consequences of the Warders not being able to do their job is why this was set off. Because remember, while they're dealing with these politics, while the Maelstrom Warders are dealing with this, they also still have to defend the Maelstrom zone. They still have to, you know, police it, make sure that ships are of Imperium or shoot it down. They're supposed to be defending these places, but now they're fucking stuck in a gun line against their allies, which... God, I love Warhammer! Alright. However, whose fault is it when it comes down to this? It's everyone's fault. It's everyone's fault. The book makes it abundantly clear that everyone is making the wrong decisions and the wrong calls, along with the fact that outside parties are constantly poking them to make these horrible calls. The Badab book makes sure to give fair points from all sides. The Warders were given an extremely horrible job in defending a section of space that was nearly impossible to police with so little forces. However, Carthago is also at risk of being seen as traitors if they don't meet their expectations, which the Astral Claws had functionally fucked them on. leading to them playing dirty and starting this whole mess so their planet didn't get blown up. Not only that, but anytime people would be sent to talk to the High Lords from either side, those representatives would never make it, usually being killed by the other side. I actually, while I was writing this, I came to the conclusion that this very much resembles the argument between the British and America when it came to a certain island between Canada and America, and how that situation was resolved because the higher-ups came down and told their side to knock it the fuck off. Like, this is very similar to that. But in this instance, no one had that. This was all just cooking up to explode. And guess what, chat? Shit hits the fan for 11 years. After the failed peace talks, everyone just starts fighting. Some chapters try to avoid fighting as much as possible, only to either be replaced by chapters willing to do the job or be forced into it at threat of being seen as part of the traitor or loyalists. Note, the Lamenters and Mantis Warriors were only fighting because Huron had told them that they were fighting for their independence as Space Marines. Which, why would they have any doubts in that? The Astral Claws were trusted brothers in arms. Yeah, over the course of the 11-year war, multiple chapters would just be slammed into this. One of the first chapters that would be brought in as reinforcements was the Marines Errant. However, there was a problem with that. The Marines Errant and the Lamenters had some rapport. They had a relationship, and both chapters would usually not want to engage one another. Anytime they did pop up in the same sector, it would be, I'm so sorry, I did not mean to be here. I was just making sure that pirates and raiders were coming through, and the Marines Errant would go, no, it's our fault, you go do your thing. Don't worry about it, we understand. And they were eventually taken off the roster, because how dare you show any fucking empathy or sympathy to the enemy? And the Marines Errant were just taken out of the war. They just were. Replaced with the Firehawks again, who were really pissed and ready to go at round 2. The Lamenters and the Marines Errant were drinking buddies, and they would try and talk things out they met on the battlefield. Exactly. Again, this was an extremely uncomfortable situation everyone found themselves in. And unless a chapter was already comfortable with, fighting Marines, they were not comfortable doing all of this. But let's get back to the main characters of this story, the main antagonist, if you would. The Astral Claws. Why are they acting so hostile and irrational? Why are they doing all of this? And yeah, sure, there is the argument of Space Marine independence. There is the argument that, hey, we're our own thing. Fuck you. We can do what we want. There was a lot of ways this could have been handled. Why were they acting this way? And why was Huron escalating this more than he needed to? Well, are they trustworthy? Let's be frank here. Huron the Astral Claws were not okay. They had been through a lot, from making sure the warders were organized, the trade lanes were protected, their defenses supplied and maintained, and having to deal with outside politics on top of that. Wasn't helping. Nothing helps with this. Not only that, but the Astral Claws subchapter, the Tiger Claws, had reappeared during these events, and the Astral Claws were dealing with the fact that their subchapter was barely alive, leading to even more uncomfortable questions. So the Tiger Claws, who actually do have the Astro Claws original colors, by the way. Yeah, that's another retcon. Have fun with that. The Tiger Claws went missing for a good long while, and the Astro Claws sat there with the sad notion that they had lost their subchapter. And it's like, the comparison to make is that you lost a part of your family. Imagine, like, your first cousins, like, an entire branch of your first cousins just suddenly up and disappeared one day. Cousins that you would talk to occasionally, like every 3 to 4 months, and now you just don't. Now you just don't. And then one day, your cousin, like 2 of your cousins come to your doorstep, haggard, horribly malnourished, horribly treated, and they are like barely on death's door there. Yeah, it's going to lead to a lot of uncomfortable questions and a lot of problems that you need to figure out. Hi, sup, dog. So, with these things in mind, the Astro Claws would get very secretive. They reabsorbed the Tiger Claws chapter into theirs, refused to hand out gene seed types to both reinforce their numbers, but also to hide the fact that the Tiger Claws gene seed was mixed in with theirs, which, by the way, it is not unheard of for Space Marine chapters to do this, to reabsorb another chapter into the fold, essentially. It's actually a main plot point in the Blood Angels books that should the Blood Angels be dissolved and all of their relics and all of their places be given over to the other the other subchapters. This was not an isolated incident. This was stuff that popped up from time to time. However, the Blood Angels thing was very public. This was not. There is a very clear, distinct difference between the two. Not only that, but Huron would tell half-truths. Yes, the Warders were fighting for Space Marine independence only after the Astro Claws fired upon Imperial fleets, unprovoked. So essentially, Huron, to try and save face, would say like, oh yes, we did fire upon them, but they gave me good reason to. Even though the reason was they stepped on my lawn. He would also go on to just straight up lie in some instances and go on to play up the atrocities of what the other side was doing while he had his own men stealing gene seed from the other loyalist chapters and even his own fucking side. Because the defense of Badab, the defense of the Maelstrom, takes precedent. And they would learn this when the Executioners, along with the Salamanders, basically caught them red-handed. Essentially, the situation came down to a Salamander strike cruiser was caught with its pants down with an Executioner and an Astro Claws ship bearing down on them. They disabled the engines of the Salamander's ship, and the Executioner's captain ordered the Salamanders to surrender, which they did. And when the Executioner's captain and his company were going over to the Salamander's ship to accept the surrender, the Astro Claws proceeded to board the ship, kill everybody in their way, and when the Executioners got there and found that the Salamanders were either fighting for their lives or dead, they asked the guy in charge of the Astro Claws, what the fuck are you doing? They surrendered. And the Astro Claws chief tech marine, their master of the forge, basically said, get out of my way or else. Turns out that the fucker was stealing the gene seed the gene seed stores aboard the Salamander's vessel. Hence why the Salamanders were fighting so fucking hard. And so the Executioner's captain went, yeah, how about no? and proceeded to team up with the Salamanders and kick the Forge Lord's ass off the ship. The Executioners from then on would bow out of the war. I'm a noob, have mercy. I'm unsure what Gene Seed is, but I think it's something from the Primarchs. Yes, Penny, you are correct. So Gene Seed is how a Space Marine gets the Primarch's DNA and essentially helps with the Space Marine augmentation process. There's two of them. There's one in your throat and one in your chest. And essentially, these things help pump the chemicals that help make a Space Marine into a Space Marine. It is also their genetic heritage. You can actually get the experience and knowledge of the former Marines that had the Gene Seed before you. And some of the knowledge and wisdom of the Primarch. Hi.
Hi. How many slides do you have left?
I don't know. I wasn't counting.
It should tell you.
It doesn't tell me.
Oh, okay.
Yes, food.
Yes, food now?
Yes.
Phone.
All right. While you do the food thing, you know what I like. But yeah. So Gene Seed is very important. It's
Sorry,
why.
I'm gonna pause you. Chicken or burger?
Burger.
Okay.
It's why if Gene Seed is lost, it is considered worse than death, because without Gene Seed to, give to new aspirants, the chapter might as well be slowly dying. With enough Gene Seed, the chapter will eventually go extinct. The stealing of Gene Seed could have potentially ended the Salamanders chapter. Yes, the Salamanders are notorious for having low amounts of Gene Seed. So, could knowledge and wisdom from the Emperor theoretically come through since the Primarchs are his sons? No. The Primarchs are their own individuals at the end of the day, and it doesn't work that way unless they retcon it to work that way. So, as far as I'm aware right now, no. Could be in the future. But anyway, losing friends fast. With these facts, the Executioners, as I said, withdrew from the war. And these revelations were not helping the Astral Claw's credibility, and they were losing allies. The Lamenters would be taken out of the war by the Minotaur's chapter, who trapped their fleet and killed 90% of them. Most of their battle brothers were rendered combat ineffective, and all their ships, if they were still intact, could not be piloted because, well, everyone was dead. So they were effectively taken out of the war. The Mantis Warriors were taken out by the Space Sharks. The battle with the Space Sharks was not a thing you wanted to happen. It was not. It was bad. The first engagement that the Space Sharks had with the Mantis Warriors ended in the Mantis Warriors' favor. However, the Sharks had a different theory. Instead of engaging them in a space where they have the advantage, let's go for the fucking throat. They chose to attack the Mantis Warriors' homeworld. And when you have the full frontal brutal power of the Space Sharks going for your homeworld, and you have spread your forces out so thin that you can't get there on time all together, yeah, no, it was easy pickings for the Space Sharks. Whether it be on ground or in space, the Space Sharks tore the Mantis Warriors apart. We do not know the total casualties of the Mantis Warriors, but it was bad enough that they had to bow out. It was that bad, and it didn't help that the Mantis Warriors were also still reeling from the knowledge that the Astral Claws were being dicks. It did not help the morale. It's the equivalent of learning that you already have to, live with the fact that your friend's a dick, but then your house is on fire. That's essentially what just happened to them. It's kind of fucking terrible. And this image encapsulates what it was like. staring down the chapter master of the Space Sharks, who canonically is as tall as a Custodes, even outside the armor. Yeah, no, you're fucked, kid. It is a bad day to be you. Fuck it! Chaos for everyone! Being left alone, in the war, the Astroclaws would double, triple, and quadruple down. Instead of surrendering and just taking the L, Huron would declare Badab free of the Imperium, and that the Astroclaws were not loyal to a corrupt body that would punish those who were just doing their job. They would tear down Imperial symbols and start worshipping other idols. Sunken cost fallacy? What's that? Yeah, so it just got worse and worse and worse. The Astroclaws would start forcefully conscripting regular people into what they called the Tyrant's Legion. This was an actual playable faction within the game where you played Imperial Guard, but you could have Space Marine sergeants in those Imperial Guard squads. I don't remember the rules that well, but essentially, the Guardsman squad was treated as having a commissar inside of it, so long as that Marine was alive. So you had Space Marines leading regular human infantry. It was not a good look. This was looking very much like Horus Heresy 2.0 Electric Boogaloo. So, yeah, shit's only getting worse. But eventually the final battle comes. The final battle consisted of the Red Scorpions, the Star Phantoms, and the Space Sharks, launching an attack on Badab Primaris itself and Huron's stronghold, the Palace of Thorns. The Sharks would destroy the orbital defense rings, while the Red Scorpions and Star Phantoms would attack the Palace of Thorns itself. However, I want to make this a very clear statement. The Red Scorpions at this point were already tired. They were exhausted from 11 years of fighting. They did not take the central stage in the assault. That was led up to the Star Phantoms. They were the ones that broke the palace. Though Huron would escape with his loyal followers, a Star Phantom's captain would get a lucky melt-a-shot off, mortally wounding Huron and shattering what was left of the Astroclaws' morale, causing what was left of the chapter to flee into the Maelstrom. I couldn't find the artist that drew this. This is incredible artwork and accurately depicts about like what the fuck happened. Because this captain did not survive these events. He died down there. But he died mortally wounding Huron and essentially ending the War of Badab. Alright. What the fuck was the aftermath? How the fuck did this shit end? So, in total, 17 Space Marine chapters got involved in this. All of them suffering massive casualties, along with the Maelstrom Zone being left in absolute ruins and chaos. The very thing the warders were designed to, stop! Carthago was destroyed by the Astroclaws, and all the worlds that were used to supply other war efforts around the galaxy were either destroyed, used up, or lost to pirates or other forces who took advantage of the chaos. Don't worry, we'll get there, Penny. We'll get there. Don't worry. So yeah, shit like this was not seen in a good 10 millennia. The last time there was any major Space Marine engagement like this was the Horus Heresy. It's not to the same scale as the Horus Heresy was. But this was like a legion fighting itself. This was like 17,000 Space Marines going at it. And it did not end well for anyone. The Imperium lost massive amounts of territory. It lost a lot of men and a lot of supplies to this. It even lost a sector of space. It lost Carthago, the guys who started this. Like, it was not good. Alright? what happened to the Warders? What happened to the Executioners, the Lamenters, and the Mantis Warriors? They were put on trial. They were given a fair trial. It was conducted by chapters who did not take part in the Badab War. They were all selected, and essentially everyone wanted a piece of the Warders. Every fucking one wanted a piece of them. The administration wanted their heads on pikes. The Inquisition wanted to judge them themselves and see them for the heretics that they were. Everyone was on their ass, but the Space Marines stood together, especially the ones that fought in the Badab War, and told all of them, fuck off. All of them, all these chapters came together and told the administration, fuck off. This is an eternal matter between brothers. We will decide what happens. We will be fair and just judges about this. So take your pretentious asshole and fuck yourself, was essentially what they said. Now, the tribunal was fair to the Warders, and they did see that, yes, after looking through everything, they were tricked by the clearly traitor Astral Claws. However, just because you were tricked into it does not excuse you for still doing it. So they were still found guilty, but only given the punishments of penitent crusades and losing some stuff to other chapters. The Minotaurs would receive the ships that were left over from the Lamenters, along with any aspirants that the Lamenters had, and same would go with the Space Sharks from the Mantis Warriors. The Space Sharks, notoriously, before they left, would throw all the aspirants that the Mantis Warriors gave them into a room and said, "Last 10 standing wins. Run and you will be shot." And then the Space Sharks were never heard from again after that. Until they were heard from again years later. In recognition of their service, the Star Phantoms chapter was given dominion over the ruins of Badab. Essentially, they were given a broken castle and said, fix it. You broke it, now fix it. Man, it sucks to be a Star Phantom, dude. It sucks to be them. Really fun chapter, but sucks to be them. Alright, now you're probably asking yourself, what the fuck happened to the Astral Claws that survived? The surviving Astral Claws would, for the next few months, be lost with no knowledge of what to do. Huron was on death's door, and the Chief Apothecary and Forge Father were working on him. Huron would be visited in his dreams by the forces of chaos, promising him not only vengeance against the Imperium, but rewards for his loyalty. Huron would wake up, and although in massive amounts of pain, he would stand before the surviving Astral Claws and declare, "Fuck it! We're pirates! We're pirates now, motherfucker! Put on the song there, James! Your whore fiddle-dee-dee! Being a pirate is alright with me!" Yeah, Huron would go on to raid the inside of the Maelstrom, and not only recruit tons of pirates, ranging from humans to aliens to Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, no, he effectively took control of the Maelstrom. He is in control of the center of the galaxy, and no one can root him out. They've tried. Everyone's tried. But, him being an excellent commander, yeah, that didn't go away. In fact, it got worse. Because now he's not constrained by the resources of the Imperium. He's constrained by the resources that he dictates goes where. Huron literally went from the Caribbean pirate who mutinied against the British Navy. Yep! That is a very accurate statement. That is a very accurate statement about Huron. He went from being a fucking he went from being a Navy officer for the British military to being basically a pirate. It's great. So, all in all, what the fuck was the point? What was the point of all of this? The point of this event was to show that the Imperium, more often than not, causes its own problems while failing to properly support war zones, not properly mediating the problems, and just throwing guns at the problem is clear signs that the Imperium is not okay. There were multiple times that the book points out that this could have ended the war, this could have done that, this could have diffused tensions, but no one ever thought to do it. And anyone that did usually wound up dead. It is very obvious that this was a very bad thing. Not only did it fail to properly state who had authority where, they lost a chapter, multiple sectors, and supply lanes to a civil war that was avoidable. The Astral Claws, now going by the name the Red Corsairs, would come back stronger than ever. A pirate fleet that would make the Emperors of One Piece blush, along with being a constant problem even during the Indomitus Crusade that would happen nearly 90 years later. Huron is so powerful, he is considered a rival to Abaddon. As well, he actually has the loyalty of those outside his Red Corsairs because, like I said, he is good at politics. The one thing that you get from Huron when you read any books that he's in, he has the charisma of a lion, and he flaunts it. He is very much in control of any situation that he's in, and when he's not in control, he does not try to get control back. He accepts it, and he fucks off. He takes what he can get, and then he leaves. He is very much a reasonable and rational commander who is now just backed by the powers of gods. He is good at what he does. It is why I said if he was given time to cook, he could have been on the same level as Marnius and Logan. But again, that's not how shit played out. How successful was this event? How successful was the Badab War? It was actually fairly successful. It was a fun little event that anyone could participate in. And you got to remember that 40K is a sandbox. Not everything is recorded because the galaxy is so big and the Imperium is a bureaucratic nightmare. Officially, 17 chapters were there, but there could have been other Space Marine chapters that took either side. As well, we got rules, we got models, we got all these different things of all these different groups coming together to fight. We got rules for the Red Scorpions. They could include apothecaries and their tactical squads. Concaradons, they could upgrade their regular infantry to have chain swords. This was one of the first occurrences of regular assault marine chain swords being troop choices in Warhammer 40K. Okay, not only that, but you could play these characters. You could have Luft Huron as your warlord. You could have Tiberos the Redwig, i.e. this model right here. I own Tiberos. I even had the Luft Huron model, but he exploded while my move, and I'm sad. Yeah, and the idea of this was that, A, it's an example of why Space Marines would fight each other. B, it was a new way to include new characters and new models. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. More stuff that was just always there. And no one batted an eye. The idea was to give people a setting that they could, have fun in and essentially mold and play on their own. Either recreating the final battles of the Palace of Thorns, Orns with the Star Phantoms versus the Astral Claws, or, you know, being like a team up between like the Minotaurs and Space Sharks versus the Astral Claws and their Tyrant Legion. It was always meant to be a fun event that everyone could enjoy and essentially play it. And these rules were good to play through 6th edition all the way to the end of 7th, with them being defunct as of the release of 8th edition. You could still go back and play former, like, earlier editions of 40k. You could even play with these chapter rules. Though, there was some problems that some chapters would just say, oh, just use, Codex Blood Angels for the Lamenters, or use Codex, Ultramarines for the Howling Griffins. It did feel a little bit rushed in some places. Some chapters were better than others in a lot of other ways. The Red Scorpions being able to take apothecaries in the regular tactical squads and getting that 5-up feel no pain was, in and of itself, a pain to deal with. Wasn't 8th entirely fucked over by 9th? It was! The entire timeline of 8th edition was completely retconned when 9th edition came out. So if anyone tries to cite an 8th edition codex at you, tell them to stuff it, because 9th edition retconned everything, and that 8th edition codices are unreliable. Because the 9th edition codices essentially kicked them in the dick and said, fuck you, I'm canon. And so far, the 10th edition codexes have not refuted the 9th edition codexes. So, sorry. Alright. Conclusion. The Imperium is shit. It causes 99.9% of its own problems. That is not a shock to anyone that has read Warhammer with more than a third grader's reading comprehension. This is not a shock. GW must have really hated 8th edition. I wouldn't say it was hate. I'd say it was... They expected one thing from the fan base and did not get it. The problem came down to... So, 8th edition was the reveal of the Primaris Marines. It was the bringing in of Gullymen and all these different things. And 8th edition was extremely popular. It helped revitalize Warhammer 40k. It got out into the mainstream. It brought a lot of people in. But the problem is that it was too much to swallow. They said 100 years passed in those books, essentially. Like, the Primaris Marines were just part of the regular roster now. Everybody was fine with it, without really going into detail why. But in the books that people read, it felt like they weren't. It felt really alienating. And like, a lot of the stuff was just weird a little bit. It's why part of the reason they recalled, well, before I get there. So GW said, fuck it. A lot of shit did not happen over the course of 100 years. It happened over the span of a decade. A lot happened within a decade. And they even went so far as to recall Gullyman's first 2 books, Dark Imperium and Plague War, and rewrite some things within it, and then re-release the books with the fixed timelines. So instead of, like, the characters surfing for 100 years and still not being used to being Primaris Marines, it's been a decade, they're still not used to it, and now they're being thrown into other chapters where they're having a total culture clash. And then 9th edition was basically just confirming, yeah, no, all this stuff happened within a decade, Psychic Awakening, all that kind of stuff. happened in short order. It did not happen over the course of a century. Food's almost here, 8 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm almost done the stream, don't worry.
8 minutes, but it's like 2 blocks away.
It's the fucking app, babe. I don't know. 3 minutes. Unrelated, my husband is subbing to your channel too. He's a bit shocked currently watching Warhammer stuff. Yeah, it's wild, right? But yeah, if you want a more in-depth look at the Badab War, its factions and major players, Warhammer Plus gives you access to the Vault, where the full 2 parts can be found. You have to subscribe to Warhammer Plus, but hey, it's worth it to see Warhammer's history if you're into that. And I will get that up so you guys can see it. So, like, what is Warhammer Vault? Well, aside from being just the absolute epitome of, yeah, no, you want to see how much GW retcon shit? One little jaunt through here, and you're fucked, kid. This is the Warhammer Vault. It contains old stuff of White Dwarf, of Space Marine stuff, of Chaos stuff, everything. They're still uploading more and more stuff to it every time they can, whenever there's like a major thing. But yeah, like you can find the War for Taros, you can find the Siege of Rax books, you can read the raid on Castrol Novum, the Unfelion project, which is the best way to put it, Jurassic Park, but what if it was 40K? You have the Doom of Mimera, the Fall of Orpheus, the Lost and the Damned. You have the Psychic Awakening books, which were all put in, and goddamn, I'm so happy they're here, because Psychic Awakening was actually a really fun event. They have Armageddon. They have Inquisition, the Eye of Terror campaign, the notorious campaign that kept 40K in fucking gridlock for years. Holy shit. Like, y'all want to fucking talk about retcons? Y'all want to fucking talk about retcons? They retconned who won! Yeah, you want to know who won the 13th Black Crusade? It wasn't fucking Chaos. It was the Imperium. They held the 13th Black Crusade event. The Chaos players were outnumbered 10-1. It was a fucking slaughter. And then they retconned it not 5 years later. Holy shit. We also have the Valdor, Deimos, Pandorax, and Damocles campaigns. We have Angel's Blade and Traitor's Hate. Food is here.
Food is here. Do you want me to dish you up or just leave it in the bag?
Can you dish me up and leave it in the living room? Okay. Thank you. We have the Gathering Storm, which is retcon fucking central. They brought Eldrad back. Eldrad was resurrected for this retcon. It is insane. And convenient that all these people canceled their fucking subscriptions to Warhammer Plus, and they lost out on these things. Wow! Shock! However, that's not the reason why I'm showing you guys the Warhammer Vault. Warhammer has been around for 37 goddamn years. It has been here for a long time. It has a history, and even though it doesn't have everything in here yet, it is still being worked on, and this is actually really good that GW is keeping a history of their history. This is actually really good to see, that they actually still do care about the stuff that made Warhammer Warhammer. Is Warhammer retcon central? Fuck yes it is. It always has been. The Psychic Awakening books did that themselves. Armageddon did it. Eye of Terror did it. But at the same time, who cares? It's a fun sandbox with amazing art, with amazing talent behind it, And it is a good place to be. It is a fun game. It is stupid. It is amazing. We have undead Egyptian skellies with anime weeaboo robots running around screaming as nuns with guns scream "burn the heretic" to the guys that made their religion, who scream for the dark gods. It is an insane universe that everybody is encouraged to join and play. And this is I'm gonna explain my thought process here for why I did this the way I did it, and what I hope for in the future with this kind of style of video. I want to talk Warhammer with people that either like Warhammer but are still very new to the lore, or people that have questions that I can answer in this PowerPoint form that I did, while also having the resources that are on my shelf and here in Warhammer the Vault to try and answer the questions that you ask. And so, to my friends in the content creating space, if you have questions or want to know about an event that happened within Warhammer 40k and have it explained to you in a fun way that I can essentially make in a PowerPoint and break down in a simple, digestible way, I would love to do it for you. This is an invitation. An open invitation to friends and those who are curious about Warhammer 40k, what its universe is like, what is going on, what is happening, and what has happened, and why some things were changed. Badab War, as far as I'm aware, has not been touched since its original release, outside of a few clarifications. Like the Space Sharks having their role expanded a bit, and the Minotaurs having their roles expanded a bit. But yeah, I hope that you all enjoyed this stream. I hope that all of you had fun, and that you got to learn something new about Warhammer 40k. And my favorite interaction within the space. Something on the Custodians would be nice since they are being changed up recently. So again, I also have to point out to you, not everyone reads everything. And I need to point this out because I didn't know this either, because I never got a chance to read the book. Female Custodians have been here since 2022. They were included in the book, Echoes of Eternity, and by that time the Sisters of Silence had all been wiped out or were with the Emperor inside the palace preparing for the final battle. Anyone that was outside the palace was outside the palace. And the person saying the quote is Sanguinius when he says men and women step off the golden ship. And the author confirmed that it was female Custodians. I don't blame anyone for not knowing that, because it is part of the Horus Heresy. It was part of the Siege of Terra books, and that is a book series that is over 60 goddamn books long. I do not blame anyone for not being able to read that and not knowing that. But just because you didn't know that something was there doesn't mean it wasn't there. It's there. It's been there forever. And it was built up to. So yeah. It's, at the end of the day, it's mundane. So I don't know what else to tell you. Can you read a video on the correct order to read the Horus Heresy books? Oh, can I do a video on the right order? Oh, honey, before I go, I'll show you the correct order. Order to read the Horus Heresy. Oh, boy, chat. Oh, fucking boy. Is this it? No. All right. I'm going to show you guys this. Oop. Whoops. So, here is Daunt's Horus Heresy timeline. You start off with Horus Rising, False Gods, and Galaxy in Flames, but then shit hits the fan when you get to book 4. Look at this fucking timeline. Holy shit. Oh my god. Why do I feel my Audible account quivering in terror? I am going to say this to anyone that is interested in reading the Horus Heresy. There are books you can skip. There are books that you can skip. You do not have to read all of them. The anthologies here, feel free to fucking skip them. Feel free to skip all these fucking anthologies if you want. The only anthology worth reading is Tales of Heresy because it has the book, that has the short story, The Last Church, which is essentially the Emperor burning down the last church on Terra and having a debate on philosophy and religion and humanity. It is a good read. The Emperor does not come out looking good in that book, and he was never meant to. A lot of books do converge in Unremembered Empire, but everything eventually leads to the Solar War. This is reminding me of trying to keep track of events in a book where the heroine experiences time backwards. Yeah, so, like... And note, what's worse? These books contradict themselves. They fucking contradict themselves, and it drives me nuts. Battle for the Abyss says that the Abyss-class starship, the Furious Abyss, was the only Abyss class. Betrayer, about like 10 books later, says, no, it wasn't. There's like 10 of these things running around. That's like the small retcon. That's the small one. That a ship that's like a super Star Destroyer in the 40k universe went from being the only one to being 10 more. On Audible is 156 titles. Yeah. You're not count. This does not count the audio dramas that were included. Oh boy. If you have many writers working at the same time, mistakes are bound to happen. Exactly. Hence why retcons exist. But hey, 40k is 40k. It's a dumb universe. A lot of these books are good. If you want my recommendations, I do recommend Horus Rising. I do recommend The First Heretic. I recommend... Where is it? If you have a good constitution, I do recommend Fulgrim. I do recommend Brotherhood of the Storm and Scars, A Thousand Sun, and Prospero Burns. Those two are sister novels. They're supposed to be read together. Those are some really good books. So, like, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, go give them a watch. And I will ask my friends around, hey, if there's anyone who's interested, would you like me to talk about an event that you're interested in and like me to research it? I have the time to do so. But yeah, my food's here. I'm starving. I have been cooped up in this office all day. I'm cramped the fuck up. And one more thing before we go. The video, again, I made today was taking the piss out of 40k. because that's what 40k does. And it wasn't meant to be like you're a fucking idiot for not knowing these things. But as well, if you're bent out of shape over women in power armor, I fucking can't help you. I wonder how quickly I could read through them, maybe a week or two. If you dedicate yourself hard enough, I will give you a medal. Holy shit. But yeah, wasn't Fulgrim the marks of sad to the 11th power? I have no fucking idea. But yeah, you all have a fantastic night. I will ask my friends around. This was a test run. Let me know how I did in the comments, or let me know in the Discord. Good night, everybody.